Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today for this webinar, where our EMEA lead developer evangelist, Philippe Ozil, will give you a great foundation so that you can start building on the Salesforce Lightning platform. My name is Christy Fedora, and I'm the Director of Developer Marketing for EMEA and your host for today's event. EMEA Developer Relations is delighted to bring you this event. It's one of a series of webinars that we're hosting in EMEA-friendly time zones. You can see all of our upcoming virtual and live events on our events calendar on the developer.salesforce.com website, as well as recordings of past events. We do also upload our recordings to our YouTube channel, usually within 7 days of the live chat. Today's event is being recorded and will be posted soon. Also, please be sure to stay in touch with us on all of our social channels. We look forward to hearing from you. We're excited to bring you this content today, as well as give you the chance to ask Philippe any questions about the subject. Just post your questions in our question panel for our Q&A session at the end of today's event. Please be sure to visit our developer forums for lots of more great information, as well as learning from and interacting with developers across the globe. We're going to be sending you a short survey at the end of this event. Please be sure to suggest any new topics that you'd like covered and to give us your ideas for improving these sessions. Also, be sure to visit Trailhead to keep learning and check out our sample gallery of apps, reference code, and more, all of which are going to sharpen up your skills in a hands-on environment. So now we're ready to begin. Thank you very much for joining us again, and over to you, Philippe.
Hello, everybody, and thank you, Christy, for introducing me. I'm Philippe Ozil. I'm a lead developer evangelist here at Salesforce. One of my favorite activities is basically explaining what the platform is about. And today I got the chance to present you the platform from a really high level. Before I do that, because we're a publicly traded company, you have to make your buying decisions based on what is commercially available in a product and not on what I'm going to present. The good news is that all of what I'm going to present today is actually commercially available, so we should be safe from forward-looking statements. Today's topic is about Lightning Platform. Lightning Platform is what allows you to build apps for the future. You may know Salesforce as the world's leading CRM, but actually it is more than that. Whether it is the Sales Cloud, Service Cloud, or other clouds, all of these clouds have a foundation based on the Lightning Platform. And the Lightning Platform is something that allows you to extend the CRM functionalities with clicks and code. And you'll see in this presentation how you can build apps with this wonderful platform. You'll see how you can create custom experiences by modifying user interface, business logic, create your own data model with our different tooling or frameworks. And you'll see how easy it is to deploy that application live to your users. So I'm talking about custom applications, and there are a lot of things you can do. And actually, just to give you some ideas about potential use cases about why you would need an app and why you could build an app that people would love in any department. So you have, of course, the functionalities of our main products, the Service Cloud and the Sales Cloud, but you can extend those by creating custom applications, for example, for onboarding and HR, or finance, like purchase orders, legal, case management, operations. You can have follow-up on deliveries, for example. All of these are just examples of what you can do. And the idea is that these apps don't require a heavy setup. They're already integrated in the cloud. And we provide you the same features that we benefit from the cloud features, meaning that you have the trust and the flexibility of any customization within the platform. Now, all of these apps are based on layered architecture. And you can build faster with the Lightning Platform by leveraging all of these different layers of architecture. We're actually exposing two main types of tools to build enterprise applications. We have on the one side no-code builders, and on the other side pro-code tools. So we have tools for different types of audiences, and you can actually mix and match those to create those applications. And then under that, there's the power of the platform. There are three main layers in this architecture. Starting from the most exposed one to the customer is the application service. So this is where we provide the features that allows us to customize the user interface, customize data model. Then you have networking services, which allows us to scale. And then finally, well hidden under the layers, we have the infrastructure services, which takes care of handling all the complexity of having a cloud environment, so you don't have to worry about this. But let's go a bit more in details in this architecture. how do you build on a trusted platform? So here I've presented the three different services that we read on, and I'm going to take another approach. I'm going to start really from the bottom up. So I'm going to start with infrastructure services. And in infrastructure services, that's a game changer for the cloud ecosystem. If you were to create your own application, you would have to set up your own server. So you create a data center, or you have to take care of backup and recovery. You have to take care of server applications. But if anything goes wrong, you have to take care not to have a service outage. You would have to deal with security audits, etc., etc. All of that is done by specialists for you with the Salesforce platform. The platform is trusted. That means that we report in real time the current status of our platform, and we have 99.9 uptime. You can actually check that on trust.salesforce.com if you want to see how well the platform is available. Then you have the network services. So this is pretty much continuing what is done with this infrastructure service. You have to take care, again, of security, making sure you communicate safely with your customers. You have to make sure that your platform cannot be hacked or penetrated by hostile individuals. You have also to take care of securing your data by applying some countermeasures, firewalls, login restrictions, etc. All of that is pretty complex to set up if you were having to build your own stack, but all of that is taken care of by the Salesforce platform. And finally, the last piece, the application services. This is really what today is about. We have a lot of things that help you build your application, your enterprise application on. So we take care of the identity and single sign-on for you. This is very complex to set up, but we can easily, with Salesforce, enable single sign-on with, I don't know, LinkedIn, for example, or Google accounts. We then take care of password policies for you, forcing people to reset their passwords from time to time, making sure they have, for example, two-factor authentication enabled. And then you have also a very rich set of mechanisms which allow you to protect your data. You have access to user role, permissions, field and row level security. You can basically decide who sees which data. And this is also something that is non-trivial to set up if you are doing a brand new application. So all of these features are available in all editions, and they're available out of the box. So that's really a really big win. That, plus the fact that our application is actually updated 3 times a year and in a totally transparent way, you don't have to worry about those updates. That's a very, very powerful infrastructure. Now that we've seen really the base services, let's go more into the detail about how you create IDs, how you go from an ID to an app, and you'll see that it's very, very simple. So here I've taken the traditional MVC or model view controller with the model being the relational data, the user interface, the view, and the business object, the controller. And I'm going to present you a couple of features that you have access to create these applications. So in relational data, we have access to custom data modeling. So here, let's think about a database. The database has tables, fields. Well, Salesforce is kind of the same. You have access to a couple of standard objects, but you can actually expand those custom objects, those standard objects, and you can create custom objects as well. So you can create your own fields, your own dependencies, etc. Plus, you also get the benefit of having an integrated security mechanism that is applied to those, so you can control who sees what. And with that, we also deploy for you APIs that allows you to control those fields that you've just added. Then on the UI side, we propose a lot of customization. Of course, there are a lot of things that are shipped with the product, but you can also expand the user interface by creating your own powerful user interfaces. Because we believe UI cannot fit everyone's need, we allow you to extend that with our HTML5 based framework, which is called Lightning Web Components. You have a lot of options to control the list, that create dashboards, and you can also plug in some third-party components from our marketplace, which is called the App Exchange. We'll get a chance to look at our WYSIWYG layout editor. What you see is what you get. This is called the App Builder. I'll show you all of that in the demo later on in this presentation. Finally, we get the business logic. We have something called the Process Builder, which allows you to deploy some automation with clicks. And if clicks are not enough, you can always go back to Pro Code tools by using our programming language Apex, which is our backend programming language. So this allows you to create triggers to react to certain events, and you can also call our artificial intelligence services to execute some functions on that. You can also expose endpoints if you want to integrate with third-party applications. But we're not going to cover all of that in today's demo. Let me just talk more about the tools now. As I mentioned earlier, our tools are divided into two main categories. We have on the one hand side the no-code builders, and on the right-hand side we have pro-code tools. Generally, a best practice is to first look into what is achievable with clicks with no-code builders, and then, if it's not enough, you can go further and go into pro-code tools. Let me present you these tools. The first tool I'm going to mention here is called the App Builder. The App Builder is a tool that allows you to create rich custom interfaces by editing or creating your own components and placing them in a WYSIWYG interface. So this is very powerful. It allows you to shape a page and to tune it, for example, for different profiles, or to expand it. If it's a default page, you can add a few fields, etc., etc. Then you also have another tool which is quite powerful. This is the Process Builder. The Process Builder is where you can put in place some automation. Let's say, for example, an object field is modified by a user. You can trigger some automation action following that modification. And finally, there's another tool which also allows you to do process automation. It's called the Flow Builder. And you'll see that Flow Builder and Process Builder are kind of similar, but there are a few minor differences. The Flow Builder goes a step further than the Process Builder because it also allows you to add custom user interfaces and to change them actually in complex forms. Now, these are the main no-code builder tools. Let's now have a look at pro-code tools. So first of all, this is the oldest tool that is available and that is still part of the platform. This is the Developer Console. The Developer Console is a web interface that allows you to develop on the platform directly from your web browser. And here, what we're looking at right now is actually an Apex class that is being edited in the Developer Console. So this is the traditional way to develop on the Salesforce platform. Most of the development was done on this user interfaces. But the Salesforce ecosystem has changed a bit now. We've adapted and we actually are deploying more modern tools now to do that. Same kind of edition. First of all, we've introduced Salesforce CLI, or Command Line Interface. That was about 3 years ago. This tooling here allows you to script certain deployments and automate certain tasks. So for example, if you want to deploy changes to a specific Salesforce environment, you can do that with this particular command line interface. And sometimes also people mix the two, but Salesforce CLI is actually different from Salesforce DX. You may have heard about Salesforce DX, which is our Salesforce developer experience. Both of our command line interfaces. And actually, Salesforce DX goes a step further than the CLI. It's actually a tool that lets you create discardable environments. So you can also use Salesforce DX instead of CLI. Finally, the third pro-code tool that we have here, which is probably the main one that is being used, is the Salesforce VS Code extensions. So when you want to do modern development, you generally need an IDE or an integrated development environment. And we are using Microsoft VS Code to actually edit and build complex applications or complex components, and you can code them here. That is an alternative to the Developer Console, and this is actually the future. The Developer Console will be phased out at some point, and we'll probably use the Visual Studio Code. That is, of course, safe harbor or forward-looking statement here. All right, so that's a big overview about the different features of the platform. Let me now show you all of that in practice with a small demonstration. And I'm going to demo something to you that is called the e-bikes manufacturing app. This is part of our sample application gallery. This is an application for which we deliver the source code, and we actually showcase how we built this application. So let's see now our e-bikes application. Let me just refresh my page so that I don't time out. So here, this is e-bikes. We're actually looking at the Salesforce org with the traditional applications here. So this is our custom application that we built, but there are the other Salesforce applications that are shipped by default. You can see the Service Cloud, you have the Sales Cloud here. I'm not going to cover the other applications. We're going to stay in the e-bikes applications in this demo. So the e-bikes application is a custom application we built. And electric bike manufacturing is actually a fake company that sells electric bikes, as its name implies. They've created their custom application on their Salesforce instance. And what we're looking at here right now is their product explorer. So here you can see the different models that they have. And we can explore this particular view here by clicking on the different tiles and have a look at their different models. We can also search for specific keywords to filter our list, or we can also fine-tune the price range, etc., etc. Now, what we're looking at right now is a page that is full of custom components. I'm going to get back to those custom components later, but this is the power of the platform. We are within the Salesforce environment, and we have created something that has nothing to do with the default views that we have in the Salesforce platform. This is the power of customization. Now, when e-bikes are selling their bikes, they actually use products. So they have created a custom object here that tracks their different products, their different types of bikes. Let me open one for you here. This is one of their bikes, and this page here, if you take apart the similar product component here, this here is the standard page for a record. Now, all of that was created with clicks only. I'm really not considering the similar product here. Just if you look at that, the rest is really standard. And the way it works is that with the platform, you can actually create custom objects. So I'm going to show you how this is done. A custom object is pretty much like a custom table on a database. It has custom fields, the custom names, and here you can see we created our custom product object with fields that are very specific to what we do. It has a battery field, which is a text field. It has fork field, which is also text, etc., etc. We have added a long list of fields which are very custom. But I will get back to creating those custom objects later on. Let's go back for now to our application. So we saw the products, and what is e-bike doing? E-bike is selling their bikes, and the way we do it is we actually have a network of resellers, and resellers need to get some stock from e-bikes, so they need to actually order a bunch of bikes so that they can sell them to their customers. And we're going to have a look at this reseller orders page here. So let's pretend we are an e-bikes reseller, and we want to buy some bikes from e-bikes. Let's say we are Northern Trail Cycling, and we're going to place a new order. This again is a custom UI that was built with our tooling. And the way it works is that we have the list of bikes here. This is the same as the product page. Instead of having just a list view like we had before, we've just created custom tiles with the product information, and we have listed them here. So I'm going to take a couple of bikes and I'm going to create an order. Let me just drag and drop a few. Let's say we have 3 bikes here, and you can see the number of items is increasing here. Actually, let me just augment this, and the price is also automatically calculated here. Right, so this looks like a pretty reasonable order. Let's have a look at how this page is actually created. Now, this is a custom page, and we can, with the UI when it's built in, edit this page. Let's see how this is done. So here you notice that we're using a totally different user interface. We're actually opening up something called the Lightning App Builder. The Lightning App Builder is our WYSIWYG interface. It is where we can drag and drop components to customize the appearance of our pages. So here, for example, we can change this component because developers can actually expose custom components with specific properties. So this tile list, which product tile list here, was exposed with custom settings for the admin. So the admin can actually modify its appearance. So for example, there's a little checkbox here which was implemented by the developer of the component that allows to toggle on and off the search filter here. So I'm going to leave that open here. I'm going to add a search bar so that the end user can actually search on products. But I'm going to go a bit further than that in terms of customization. I'm also going to use one of our standard components here, and I'm going to add, for example, a rich text. Oops. Sorry. I'm going to take this rich text, I'm going to place it here, and I'm going to have copy paste some text here just to show you how you can customize the page. So without any development, I can add a little message here. I'll just have it red, bold, there, and center here. There we go. So for example, this is how we can easily customize the page, and you can see that it's rendering in real time. Let's now save our page and go back to the actual page as it's being viewed by users, and you can see how we configure the page. We see our message here, that's a new custom component, and we can see that we toggle on the search and it's actually working here. So we've leveraged the power of the app builder combined with custom components which are made with code tools. I'm afraid I don't have time to show you the code behind this, but this is freely available on our GitHub repository. So if you're interested in how these custom components are developed, you can have a look at the child sample gallery and you'll see how these are made. Now let's go and explore a bit more this reseller order object. I've mentioned just before that you can actually create custom fields. So let's actually extend the structure of this object. For now, the object is very simple. There's an order number and an account that is tied to it. Of course, there are some related items that are added to the product. But let's actually add a new status field to this object. So I'm going to edit this object, and I'm going to add a custom field that lets us track the stage of the order. So I'm going to go in field and relationships for the reseller order, and I'm going to add a new field here. We have access to different types of fields, and in this particular case, we're going to create a pick list. So a pick list is basically a drop-down with a couple of pre-entered options. So I'm going to call it stage, and I'm going to enter values just here. Let me just grab right values. I copy paste them somewhere else here. And so we have a list of options. It can be draft, order, produced, and shipped. So we're going to keep it very simple here. And then we have a set of options here. I'm just going to use these right now. I'm going to finish adding this field, but I'm just accepting everything as default, allowing the field to be watched by everyone, and saving. All right, very simple. Looks like it didn't work. Let me see, did it work? Yes, it didn't work, sorry. Okay, it was a slight refresh problem. Anyway, so my field is here, it's added, there's a pick list here. And if I go back to my reseller order, if I refresh the page, you'll see that this default UI is being extended, and we should be able to see our new stage field here. I had nothing to do, the UI was automatically updated. And it's even more powerful than that. All of these Salesforce objects can be accessed with our API. So if you are using, for example, REST to interact with your Salesforce records, you would have this field added to the REST interfaces as well, without doing anything. This is the power of the Salesforce platform. Let's now put the default value here. Let's say that this is a draft, in our case, and I'm going to save it. All right, so now we have set up a stage for this particular order. I'm not going to present you another tool, but it's part of the list of tools I just talked about earlier. We're going to see the process builder. So we're going to put in place some automation in a few clicks to show you how you can actually process these records. So I'm going to go. I'm going to open the setup here. As an administrator, I'm going to be able to create a new process. Here, I'm opening the process builder, and I'm going to create a new process. I'm going to give it a name. So this is going to be order tracking, and we're going to use this process to track new orders. All right, I'm just going to say that this process starts when a record changes. So when we change basically the stage of our reseller order, we're going to be able to trigger some automation. So this is the UI of the process builder, and the first thing we want to do is say, okay, this is the source object. When this object changes, we trigger the process. So we're going to look at reseller orders. Notice that here I could trigger this process from a custom object or from a standard object. So we have all these Salesforce objects here, either the CRM objects or our custom-made objects. So here I'm filtering on reseller order. And I'm going to say we want to trigger the process when the record is created or edited. Saving that. So that's our start condition. Now, we're going to say that we only want to trigger this process with an additional criteria to filter the action. So let's add a criteria. And we're going to say only do something when the stage is set to order. And here we have a simple user interface that allows us to filter or using our object fields to filter this particular object. So here we want to select stage. When order stage is equal to pick list value ordered, then we do something. Of course, we can add more conditions, and we can also do some things that are more advanced with formulas. But here, this is a very basic criteria here that we're using. I'm saving that. And then I move on to the next phase. I can actually add some actions. So here I'm going to add something very simple. I'm going to actually create a chatter notification when we have a new order. So I'm going to post it to chatter. Here I have a list of default actions, and there is a possibility to go even further and to actually call some custom code with Apex. This is not covered in this demo, but it's very powerful. You can actually do and it's generally the story. There's a mix of use of declarative tool, no-code builder tools, and code. It always goes in hand. I'm going to name my action to chatter. And I'm going to post to a specific chatter group. I've created a group for you. So that's called incoming orders here. And I'm going to put a message. My message can be custom. I'm just going to copy paste my message. The message is actually something very dynamic. And I was able to extract the field value of the account. Saving my action, I will save my process and activate it, and then we'll get to see an action. I'm activating my process now, confirming. All right, now our process is active. So that means each time we're going to change an order status to ordered, we're going to have a chatter post. Now back to my order. I'm just going to refresh here, and we're going to set the stage to ordered, and we're going to see our message appear. Changing the stage to ordered, saving, and then if you have a look at chatter, if we go in our group, the incoming orders group, we'll see that we have a new message here. Here, account Northern Trail Cycling placed a new order. And this is how we've achieved really basic process automation. But you can see here how powerful this tool is. With a couple of clicks in a couple of minutes, I was able to create a custom field on a custom object. I was able to customize the user interface, and I was also able to deploy a custom process for automation. That's it for my demo. I'm going to go back to the slides now. You've seen some example based on the electric bikes manufacturing app. Of course, there are many more features on our platform, the Customer Success Platform. We've just scratched the surface here. We've just talked about the platform and ecosystem. There are many other tools and features that are available, and with all of that, you can create custom apps for your end users and your customers. Well, I'd like to call out some learning resources. So I suggest that you make Trailhead your next step. Trailhead is our online learning platform. It's the fun way to learn with Salesforce. And we've actually compiled a list of learning resources under this link so that you can get a start. If you look at this, bit.ly Salesforce_career, you'll find a set of learning resources to get you started as a developer on the Salesforce platform. But Trailhead is just the beginning of the journey. You can start with this free online learning platform, and maybe after some point you'll find that you want even more more knowledge, and so you can schedule a training class. Here is another resource. We have actually online learning classes or instructor-led in physical trainings. You can also attend an event, and here we've listed shown you the URL for events. So whether they're virtual or in person, we have a lot of events that are going on. And once you're ready, it may be the time when you can actually prove yourself, prove your employer that you're actually very knowledgeable about the platform, and you can actually get certified. So we offer a range of certifications that you can take, and you can actually apply them on your resume to get a new Salesforce job. And once you've done all of that, maybe it's time for you to even open to build your own content on Trailhead. And for that, we have a new product called My Trailhead, which allows you to build custom learning for your employees or your company. With that, I'd like to thank you, and I'm now going to take questions.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Philippe. That was brilliant. I love Process Builder. It's such fun to play around with. So we welcome all of you to go and have a play. Of course, you can sign up for a developer edition. It's free, and just go to developer.salesforce.com for all of those resources. So Philippe, I have a couple of questions here that have been coming in for you, and I welcome other people to who've been on the webinar to put their questions in the questions panel as well. But let's get started with the first one. So the first question is VS Code the only IDE available?
So no, I mentioned VS Code as like the de facto standard for now, but there are actually also other IDEs that are available. If you want to go for something more powerful than just the developer console, you can also look at the third-party editors. We are exposing something called the tooling APIs, and we have actually partners like the Illuminated Cloud Platform or also the Vulkan Suite Studio. So there are other IDEs which lets you customize the platform. You're not forced to use our official standard IDE. However, if you choose to use VS Code, you'll make sure that you actually have the latest updates because we're rolling them out there.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you, Philippe. Our second question is, do I have to use Salesforce DX to code on the platform?
So I did mention Salesforce DX, but it's not mandatory. This is something rather new. So we're actually hosting a series of webinars and posting some contents on our blog about this. Salesforce DX is the modern way to develop on the platform, but you can still continue to use the legacy mode. The principle behind Salesforce DX, to cover it very quickly, is actually to use a system of source control to revision your changes with something called Git or SVN. And the way it works is that you actually have your code in a central repository, and it's actually separated from your production org. And you can push your updates and work collaboratively around with source code and actually create a discardable environment called scratch orgs that you can test your code on and actually discard when you don't need it. That's really the basics. So you're not forced to use that. You can still continue to develop directly on production or sandbox environments, but it's recommended that you take a look at Salesforce DX. There are tons of resources online, webinars, blogs, and also a lot of Trailhead content on that.
Yeah, and of course, Philippe, if you go to Trailhead, not only do you have various modules which allow you to read some content and ingest it and then take a little quiz on it, you also have modules which allow you to get hands-on with Salesforce in your own Scratch org or your own Trailhead playground. So we give you content and data that's already loaded into a Salesforce instance, and then you can start building right in your own playground. So it's really nice. You can have multiple playgrounds as well. So Philippe, I have a couple more questions for you from our audience. So this is a really interesting one because it is something that has confused me in the past as well. So what's the difference between Process Builder and Flow Builder?
Very good question. So it's not just the name, of course. they share a lot of common functionalities. Let me talk about what they share first, and then I'll talk about what is different. So in the example I showed in the demo, we actually set up some basic automation. By reacting to the change of a record, we were able to trigger some action on the platform. So both of these tools can do that. Now, the flow builder is actually a bit more powerful because it can also render a user interface. With process builder, you can only do background processing. You cannot have a complex flow. You can just have a criteria and an action. But with Flow Builder, you can actually have more than one condition, and you can have multiple branches, and you can also integrate screens, custom screens in the flow. So, for example, you could have an interface like a wizard. So, if you answer a first question in a given way, you can go on this branch. If you answer with another answer, you can go on another branch, and you can build something more complex with that. So flows are for more complex projects, and it's also for projects that can involve some interaction with the end user with custom screens.
And Philippe, with those systems as well, can you integrate other data from other systems by using Process Builder and Flow Builder?
Absolutely. So for both of these two components, we have the ability to add Apex actions. So I've talked briefly about it, but actually there is a type of action that lets you call custom code. And with this custom code, you can actually call any system that has an API, basically. We have different features to cover the integration. There are different methods for security, for data synchronization. There's a very, very large set of resources that are available on our platform for that. If you're interested in the integration scenarios, there are some resources again on Trailhead, and there are dedicated trails and modules about how or what are the different integrations options. But there's a pretty wide variety of them.
Excellent. Okay, and I think this might be our last question. It's a really good one. Are there more webinars that are coming up that I can use to learn more? So do you want to pop over to developer.salesforce.com/calendar and show everyone our list of upcoming events? So
I anticipated the question, so yes, absolutely.
Thank you, Philippe. So as you can see here, everybody, we have a whole list of upcoming webinars that are going to be happening, also in-person events. So you can click into any of those and register for them for free. Also, we have a full list of recorded events that have already occurred, so you can listen to the recordings and you can find those on our YouTube channel. So I would welcome you to visit those particular places. What Philippe has been kind of working on here is the beginning, the foundations of learning how to code and how to develop on the Salesforce platform. So you're asking a very good question about where to go next. What's the next level? So Philippe, is there one in this particular list maybe that you see that it's a good next step for our attendees?
Yes, so the first two webinars are more advanced subjects. I wouldn't recommend them for beginners, but and the third one, the introduction to Salesforce DX, could be a very good way to start actually, because Salesforce DX, as I mentioned, is the modern way to develop on the platform. So it's very good both for existing Salesforce developers, but also for new beginners. So that's a very good one.
Excellent.
But then also the list is extended. So
yes, thank you, Philippe. Yes, that's a good one as well. Very good. And of course, we do welcome you to go to Trailhead to try out that particular trail mix that has been built, which will give you your next step on Trailhead, again, in your free environment, your free developer playground, so that you can have a play with trying out the instructions that are provided to you so you can get hands-on. We know developers learn best when there is a hands-on portion to their learning. So we welcome you to go and do that. Okay, well, I think we're going to call it a close for the day. Thank you, everyone, so much for coming along and joining us. We hope that you enjoyed this event, and obviously we welcome you to come to our other events. We'll be doing much more of these as time goes on. Also, feel free to join the forums. You can go to our developer forums where you can chat with and interact with and network with all developers from all around the world to continue your learning there as well. So thank you, everyone, for joining, and we look forward to seeing you again soon.